Welcome to AgentOS. In this video, we'll walk through how to use the platform from start to finish. We'll create a goal, work with AI agents to plan and execute stories, track progress, and see how different agents collaborate behind the scenes. Let's get started. You can log in or request access using Google or your email and password. For this video, we'll log in with Google. Once we're in, we can see our existing goals and create a new one. A goal represents the overall objective we want to accomplish using AgentOS. It could be a new feature, an application, or any larger piece of work that can be broken down into smaller stories. So, let's click New Goal and create our first goal. Clicking New Goal opens the Create Goal form, where we provide some basic information about our goal, including its name, objective, description, and the AI model we want the Goal Orchestrator to use. Let's fill these quickly. Once everything is ready, we'll click Create Goal. Now that our goal has been created, let's head over to the Goal thread. The Goal thread is where we communicate with the Goal Orchestrator, which is the first type of agent we'll see in AgentOS. The Goal Orchestrator helps us understand and refine our goal, plan the work, and break the overall objective into smaller, actionable stories. We can simply describe what we want to achieve, provide additional context, and answer any questions the Goal Orchestrator may have. Now, let's chat with the Goal Orchestrator and tell it what we want to achieve. Let's go to the Resources page and add the repository. Here, we can either upload files such as PDFs, Excel files, Word documents, and CSVs, or click Add Resource to connect a Git repository, a specific branch, or a cloud resource. For our goal, we'll add the Git repository containing our existing calculator code. Here, we can select the repository and specify its default branch. If a branch should be treated as the merge target for review stories, we can mark it as a trunk branch using the Mark as Trunk option. We can also add additional context for the Goal Orchestrator, helping it understand what the resource contains and anything important it should know about it. Now that our resources are in place, let's return to the Goal thread and ask the Goal Orchestrator to create stories for our goal. Stories are smaller, focused units of work that contribute towards completing the overall goal. Instead of trying to execute everything at once, AgentOS breaks the work into manageable stories that can be planned, executed, tested, and reviewed individually. Once our stories have been created, let's head over to the Stories tab. Here, we get a visual overview of all the stories in our goal. Stories move through different stages, from proposed and accepted, to in progress, blocked, done, and finally reviewed. This makes it easy to see exactly where each story stands and track the overall progress of our goal. Now, before we start executing a story, let's quickly look at the Git engine. The Git engine is on the main goal page. The Git engine manages the Git workflow behind our stories. It creates and tracks dedicated branches for the work being executed, keeps track of which stories belong to each branch, and manages the merge process once the work is complete. Here, we can see the branches created for our stories, their current state, the stories associated with each branch, and any merge operations waiting for approval. This allows the agents to work on isolated branches without directly affecting the main codebase. Now, let's head back to the Stories board, accept a story, and import it into the Assistant, where we'll start executing the actual work. Once the story is imported, we arrive at the Assistant. The Assistant is the second type of agent in AgentOS, and it's the agent we communicate with while executing a story. There are only two types of agents that we communicate with directly: the Goal Orchestrator, which helps us plan and manage the overall goal, and the Assistant, which helps us execute individual stories. Once the story is imported, the Assistant already has the context it needs. It may ask us some questions to better understand the requirements, and then propose a plan for executing the story. Let's head over to the workspace to review that plan. The workspace shows us exactly how the Assistant plans to execute the story. Here, we can see a scope file containing the scope of the work, along with a detailed plan. The first plan is called Cycle 01. If we provide feedback or ask for changes, the Assistant creates a new plan called Cycle 02, and this continues with each new planning cycle. The plan also includes a task DAG, which gives us a visual breakdown of all the tasks the Assistant is going to perform and the order in which they'll be executed. Depending on the story, these tasks could be handled by specialized agents such as coders, unit testers, integration testers, and code reviewers. Each task also includes a description of exactly what the agent is expected to do. If we're happy with the plan, we can click Approve Plan, and the Assistant will start performing the tasks one by one. As execution progresses, we can track each task through the workflow. If a task completes successfully, the Assistant moves on to the next one. If a task gets blocked for any reason, we'll need to provide additional information or guidance to help the Assistant unblock it and continue. Once all the tasks are complete, AgentOS generates a diff containing the proposed code changes. We can review the changes and, if everything looks good, approve and push them. If we're not happy with the result, we can reject the changes, provide feedback, and start the planning process again with a new cycle. For our first story, everything goes according to plan, so we'll approve the changes and push them. And with that, our first story is successfully executed. Let's head over to the Stories board and start with the next story. Now, let's move on to Story 2. We'll accept the story and import it into the Assistant. Once imported, we'll chat with the Assistant to clear any doubts it may have and make sure it fully understands what we want to achieve. We'll also ask it to add a specific unit test that we know will fail, so we can see what happens when a task moves into a blocked state. The Assistant will now start executing the tasks one by one. As expected, when our intentionally failing unit test runs, the task moves into a blocked state. When this happens, we have several options available to decide how we want to proceed. We can provide additional guidance, choose one of the other available actions, or ask the Assistant to replan. For this example, we'll ask the Assistant to replan and create a new approach. Once the new plan is ready, we can review and approve it, and the Assistant will continue executing the task DAG. After all the tasks are successfully completed, a diff is created containing the proposed code changes. We can review the diff and, if everything looks good, click Approve and push to push the changes. And with that, our second story is successfully executed. Now that we've executed our first two stories, let's look at how we can collaborate with other users. First, we'll go to the Goal dashboard and open the Members section. From here, we can add people to our goal. Once someone is a member of the goal, we can head over to the assistant and add them there as well. This allows us to add anyone who is already part of our goal to the assistant, so they can view the work, share their opinions, provide feedback, and collaborate directly within the context of the story. Next, let's head over to the Tasks tab. Here, we can see the complete execution history of our stories. For Story 1, everything was completed successfully in a single cycle, and we can see all the steps that were performed during its execution. For Story 2, the journey was a little different. The first cycle was cancelled, the second cycle failed, and finally, in Cycle 3, the story was successfully completed. Here, we can expand Cycle 3 to see all the individual tasks that were performed during the successful execution, and if we want to understand exactly what happened in a particular task, we can go one level deeper, open that task, and read the detailed information about what the agent did during that step. This gives us a clear history of every attempt and complete visibility into how a story progressed from planning to completion. Before we continue, let's quickly look at some appearance settings. We can customize the look of AgentOS by changing the theme and font based on our preference. For this walkthrough, let's switch to the dark theme. Now, let's head back to the Goal thread and open the submenu to explore some of the agents and councils working behind the scenes. First, we have the Agent Mesh. The Agent Mesh gives us visibility into agent-to-agent communication happening within AgentOS. As we saw earlier, not every agent communicates directly with the user. Specialized agents work behind the scenes and communicate with each other to exchange context, share results, and coordinate work. The Agent Mesh allows us to see these interactions and understand how different agents collaborate across the goal. Next, let's look at the Goal Review Council. The Goal Review Council handles two types of reviews: story reviews and goal reviews. A story review happens when we mark a story as done. The review agents evaluate the completed story and provide an additional layer of validation. A goal review looks at the entire goal, giving us a broader evaluation of the overall work and progress. These review agents don't communicate directly with us. Instead, they work behind the scenes as part of the larger agent system. Finally, let's look at the Security Council. The Security Council operates at the branch level and reviews the work for potential security risks. It identifies any risks it finds and reports their severity, helping us understand which issues may require attention before moving forward. Together, the Agent Mesh, Goal Review Council, and Security Council give us greater visibility into how agents communicate, review work, and identify potential risks across AgentOS. Okay, let's look at how all these agents communicate with us. There are two types of agents that we don't interact with directly. The first are the execution agents. The assistant communicates with these agents, coordinates their work, and brings relevant information back to us in the assistant thread, like the failure we saw while executing Story 2. The second are the council agents. The Goal Orchestrator communicates with the councils and brings relevant information from their reviews back to us in the goal thread. Let's head over to the goal thread and see this in action. Here, we can see a message from the Goal Review Council recommending that we define and implement a deployment strategy. If we want to move forward with this recommendation, we can simply chat with the Goal Orchestrator and ask it to create a new story for this work. Now, let's head over to the Goal dashboard and quickly look at some of the settings available to the Goal Manager. First, we have Monitor. Monitor is a live dashboard that gives us a quick overview of recent tasks and activities happening across the goal. Next, we have Members. As we saw earlier, this is where we can manage the people who have access to the goal. Once someone is added as a goal member, they can also be added to individual assistants for collaboration. Next is Integrations, where we can connect Slack to our goal to support communication and collaboration. You can connect to your Slack and manage all the communication from there instead of the AgentOS web app. Next, we have Model Config. This section allows the goal manager to manage the AI model configuration used within the goal. And finally, we have the Git engine, which we've already covered earlier in this video. These settings give the goal manager control over how the goal is configured and managed throughout its lifecycle. Now, let's head over to the Main Settings tab. Here, platform administrators can manage various platform-level settings and configurations. We won't go into detail about each of these settings in this video, as they're covered separately in the dedicated admin tutorial. And that completes our walkthrough of AgentOS. We've seen how AgentOS helps us plan goals, execute stories, handle replanning, and collaborate through a network of specialized AI agents. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoy using AgentOS.